Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, representing Jason Blaha Strength and Fitness, and once again it's time for another full body workout. Messed with a few things today. I'm trying to mainly work on my shoulder health. I want to be able to overhead press again. I found out kind of last time once I put a little weight on, still couldn't lock it out. I spent my whole weekend really seriously assessing all the range of motion, trying to look at what all's going on, looking at everything I could find from physical therapy again, just looking for kind of solutions to that. And I really do think it is a case of just that tendon being inflamed. It appears to just be tendonitis, and I do feel like there's posture positions, tightness in the subacromial process. And I think at this point, after looking at it today, I'm probably going to avoid any sort of real overhead work. I'll probably pull the pull-ups out because I just wanted to assess and see kind of if it's butting against that, and they are no matter how I do them. So I think at this point, I'm just going to focus after this on squat, bench, deadlift. I'm going to do some very strict curls, maybe some extensions, but I'm just going to push progression really hard on power benching and rows and let that just continue to grow my chest and back and everything, and just do a little bit of arm work. But at the end of the day, ultimately it's going to be about the big lifts. So with the squatting today, I kind of went and messed with my power squatting again. I kind of want a power bench. I want a power squat. I want to do those things. And then again, just continue to do all my running, my conditioning, my jumping, keep my diet on point, continue to recomposition. So again, the main training isn't really changing. We're squatting, benching, and deadlifting and doing accessory work. And accessory work to help me, look a little better and stuff. So whether it's, pull-ups and arms, but I do feel like rows add so much for me in terms of strength. Like that's one of the things I noticed, just in general, is that I feel like my upper back has gotten kind of weak. And I do feel like that's an issue with even the shoulders, and that's its own thing. So what I'm doing, I'm going to mess more with dead hangs. I noticed messing around this weekend that supine grip, really light band pull aparts seem to really be helping with feeling all that, trying to open up. So I feel like those are things that are going to really help, because I do feel like there's a little bit of cryptotic spine trying to start my neck and everything. And some of that's come with getting older. So I need to correct some of that with just some of those exercises. So I think that's going to continue to help. And I feel like I have to just quit butting against that part of my shoulder. It's simply not going to heal doing that. So the same thing with the benching. I do the really wide benching. I'm like, let's go back in just a little bit. Pinkies on the rings, let's power bench. And it was a little hard, because I'm not used to doing it. I've used a little bit of an arch. We stayed obviously flat-footed, but set up a little bit of an arch. That double felt fairly heavy because I'm not quite used. I've gotten really used to a much wider grip, but I do feel like pinkies on the rings probably going to be the way to go for me with this. Realistically, and it felt good on the rep work here. So these went really well. The two sets with 275, these felt just as good and just as strong. But I did notice when I went up to 315, felt a little heavy. So let's just kind of work it all up, right? Also means I need more tricep and all that, right? Because I could tell I felt like my triceps, because I've gotten so used to the wider grip, a little bit of tricep limit. So again, I feel like a few extensions wouldn't hurt. I'm going to be very careful with some of that, though, of how I want to approach that. But I think for me, and I did incline work here later, but I feel like for me, as far as the chest goes, if I'm benching 3 times a week, that's all the chest work I really need. That's a lot of chest work because I feel a ton of chest on it. So outside of that, let's just hammer upper back, let's hammer triceps and things that we know build a bench. But I'm just going to do all my benching pause. I'm going to get used to power benching because I was really strong with this a couple years ago. Right, using this exact technique I'm using now, I hit 365 for a 2-second pause. I did 350, with this other not long ago. But so the strength is all still there, right? Strength is there, but I just want to get used to that slightly closer grip, and that's going to take a moment. But I was really strong there at one time. I got 315 for 8, 335 for 5 before. So I want to mess with it a little. So same thing, I did a little power squatting, so it's kind of some low bar. Deadlift, I just messed with the stiff bar, one good top set. That felt really good today. And then we went over to rows. And I know rows carry over to all this stuff really well for me. So again, if we're going to talk about building the upper back strength, rowing. So let's just build the whole back. I'm going to focus a little more on rows instead of pull-ups for a bit. Then I'm going to do them again because really it ends up being too much work. That's my thing. I feel like I can't really progress because I'm not bulking. Pretty much just at a recomp hanging out around 209 right now. I've got to be careful of doing too much volume. Let's just work on tension, and then I can do a little bit of work to improve aesthetics and everything, a little arm work. Just have to approach it carefully. And again, I'm not saying I'm going to get a lot out of it because, again, my arms were probably bigger when I hadn't been doing all of it. But I also think I was overtraining arms with too much isolation instead of just coming in and pushing really hard sets. Trying to do endless sets just doesn't work. But realistically, I think if we come in and do 3 sets of movements 3 times a week, and we just push really hard sets, like the benching and the rows just now, these were hard, right? I think we'll be okay. And I'll just use the jumping and other stuff to help build the squats. But I can start doing a little bit of rep stuff on the squats. I can build those up from here. I did incline bench today, though, just because I wanted to. I wanted to see how it felt. Because, again, I did the benching. I'm like, let's do a little incline here. It does feel good. I do like it. Part of me wants to incline instead of doing triceps, Part of me is like, I could do that. And I totally could, and it might work really well. And I may do that instead of extensions. I might just come in and do incline. But I can rotate it day to day. That's also an option. But I just wanted to do a little incline benching, and it felt good. Really works my chest. Right? Really, really works my chest. But I think my thing is with the pull-ups, I just feel like the pull-ups are not helping with my shoulder situation because any way I do them, it butts against it. Now, I did overhand grip and then I did a neutral grip. I did a set of each. And I can definitely tell, and I know it from my ranges of motion, just like the overhead hits that area. I'm just butting against that hard stop to where the tendon isn't able to get past that spacing. So I've got to just get my shoulder health good and open it up. And I've got to get that inflammation down. And I just feel like trying to overhead press, I feel like the pull-ups are not letting that heal. So what I need to be doing is, again, rows are much easier on the shoulders. I can just row. I need to be doing all the band work for the upper back. I do feel like some dead hangs and stuff will continue to help if I'm careful with them and I don't get excessive with them. I almost feel like maybe doing them underhand grip too might be the way to go, just to open that spacing up. Keep in mind, I'm not pulling with it, I'm just hanging. So I'm going to have to assess that carefully, right? Have to assess that carefully. But yeah, so I need to think about what all of this is doing with my shoulders because I want to be able to overhead press again, right? I want my squat, bench, and deadlift to go up again. I want to be able to overhead press. It is something that I feel like I have to have. And I have to do whatever I need to get there. So for curls, I just went super strict because the same thing, we're going to talk about the shoulder situation. When I bring it up anything more than just keeping the elbows at the side, because this is full range of motion. Notice my forearm's touching the bicep. So if I just keep the arms pinned to the side, way harder. But, let's just work just the bicep through its range of motion. And again, 65 pounds was actually hard doing it super strict because I'm trying to be real strict here. And that's okay. I mean, I've done more, obviously, but I'm using a different technique. So, yeah, but it lit up. It's like, oh, man, my biceps haven't been getting as worked as I would like from the big movements. And that's okay. I'm going to work them a bit now, all right? But I do think, benching 3 days a week, I don't know that I need a lot of other pressing or chest work because that's 9 sets of bench, especially if I push it pretty hard. So then it's like, let's just work all the peripheral muscles, and the rows build everything. They're just like such an amazing accessory for the big 3. But really, overall, my size is good. Like, if anything, all I really need is more arms as I continue to get leaner. But yeah, but again, I wanted to see how curls felt, and I did notice, these don't inflame the shoulder. I don't feel anything at all in terms of it doing anything negative. But I think what I'm going to have to do with that, the same thing we have to think about, is not just the supine. It's when I do the stuff that hits that long head, that rotation of the shoulder. I think that's what inflames that, and that makes it harder for those tendons to slip through. So I do want that to heal, but I probably could benefit from a little bit of curling. But I'm still going to put the focus on those 4 big barbell lifts, squat, bench, deadlift, like I've been doing, and then I'm going to work rows for a bit instead of pull-ups. Box jumps, though, we did finish with some box jumps. So I did 5x5 box jump, which again I like. I feel like they bring a lot to the table. I might need to work a little sled work back in, again, just for the squat carryover. Like I said, I didn't do any today. But it wouldn't be a bad run to start working it back in some of the days, just because, again, builds the leg muscles, builds conditioning, will help with run speed, because I keep running my 3 days a week. But again, with a lot of this, it's like, let's just get stronger, continue to get fitter, work on being athletic, work on being fit. All right. So again, things like box jumps, cardio, running, big part of what I want to do. I'm trying to be a well-rounded athlete. But I think with a lot of my training, it's like, can we maximize, muscle and strength while still healing those shoulders and allowing all those ranges of motion to return? And it's, again, I do feel like it's an inflammation and tendonitis issue, still with specific tendons, up in the interior portion, right? Because again, I can kind of tell, and I've assessed it very, very closely for a while now, and I'm trying to look at every possibility. But yeah, so I do feel like the band pull aparts would be a good idea, especially the supine grip, and a lot of physical therapists recommend that. And I'm just going to work on general shoulder mobility and health stuff, and just try to take it seriously and work on some of the stuff like the band pull aparts. It'll help with posture and everything with the upper back, and help open all that up and make the rear delts, rhomboids, and everything a little stronger. And I think rows will help. Replacing pull-ups with rows for a while, I think will help. But we just keep pushing those big 3, squat, bench, and deadlift. Always going to be big parts of my training, like I've been doing for a while. They're the start of the workout, and everything else is supplemental. So I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.